Sally, and good morning, everyone. Ooh. It is wonderful to be able to be in this sanctuary again, and today celebrating no masks. I always feel when I sit in this space and look at my surroundings, I always recall the beautiful moments of shared Christian life with all of the good souls that have filled this sacred place over the years. I'm thinking of especially Ruth Pierce this morning, a wonderful dear friend and neighbor, who the moment I walked into this church welcomed me with open arms. To be part of a church congregation is a blessing. We certainly appreciate, even more now, that we have survived a unique separation due to the pandemic. Gratitude abounds to the worship team of Pastor Richard, Carol West, Sue Pollard, Nancy McMinn, and Jane Hedstrom, who made extraordinary efforts to maintain a meaningful worship service for our enrichment and to fulfill our need for God-centered inspiration. Thank you so much. The last time I spoke from this pulpit, I talked about relationships and encouraged you to nourish and appreciate all of the special people in your life that support and love you unconditionally. Today, with those relationships in mind, I ask you to consider what brings you peace. It has been a year fraught with challenges to every normal response to daily life, multiplied with every conceivable breakdown of ways to hold those dear to us close, and having to endure separation in times of triumph and tragedy. I was able to weather this tsunami better than others, I think, at my tender age, because I can honestly say that perhaps it was because my income wasn't jeopardized. I was able to keep my beloved grandsons in my bubble, and my biggest loss was contact with my church family. The one event that did disturb my peace was a fall that led to a fractured ankle and multiple complications. That fall, the surgery, and the interventions to aid in healing certainly disturbed my natural rhythm. During my healing time, I often thought about my mom, who was one tough cookie. As I've aged, I have prided myself on being self-reliant, independent, and capable of weathering the ups and downs of life, just as she exemplified in her determination to remain calm in the face of very difficult circumstances. When my dad died so suddenly when I was 13, I watched as she so bravely took on the burden of being a single mom to 2 teenagers, went back to work full-time, paid off the mortgage, and set a remarkable example of grace under pressure. Her actions spoke volumes, and I certainly benefited from watching her maneuver those difficult days. Probably I would have been fine after I fractured my ankle with a routine healing process if I hadn't lost my inner peace. I love this banner that hangs in our sanctuary, "Let peace begin with me." For me, it means not just world peace, but that elusive peace inside that we all seek by asking God for His presence in our lives. The banner shows hands interwoven, supporting humankind in their search for peace, but also supporting one another, despite color, gender, or corner of the world. This banner says to me that when we are at our best, we are reaching out and holding each other up when times are tough. We are stronger together. The bonds we form allow us to stand up and face whatever challenges come our way. This banner says to me that with the help of my fellow human beings, I can find peace for the world and for myself. And in this sanctuary, I am able to call on God to support me in that search. Losing peace in the world and in your soul is devastating. It was a perfect early August Sunday morning, lakeside in Maine. With coffee in hand, I thought it would be lovely to sit by the lake, enjoy my coffee, and have church thanking God for the wonderful friends I was blessed to share this getaway with, the beautiful surroundings, and the joy I felt in the moment. Wet grass meets flip-flops, and the joy came tumbling down. It's never pretty when you fall down, but at least I landed on the beefiest asset of my body. As I checked out the damage, I knew immediately I had broken my left ankle. My first reaction was anger. I had lived 70 years without breaking a bone, and now I had ruined my record. When my friend saw me sitting on the wet grass, she politely remarked what a beautiful morning it was. My response was, yeah, it certainly is if you had just fallen and broken your ankle. Well, the next half hour was a blur as the extraction team arrived to get me to the car and off to the ER. No way would I let them call the local rescue. X-rays revealed my self-diagnosis was correct. 2 broken bones and lots of soft tissue damage. I think they assumed that someone as old as me probably knew how to walk with crutches. They adjusted them to fit, and my feeble attempt to walk with them didn't raise any red flags. Their repeated instructions to not put any weight on the soft casted foot rang in my ears as I struggled out the door. I was delivered to my daughter's home to await follow-up with an orthopedic specialist. Just seeing my grandsons made me feel better. Little did I know that I would end up spending more than 6 weeks with them as I struggled to find my physical and emotional balance. My search for inner peace in face of this traumatic event has a backstory. I was diagnosed at age 31 with bipolar disorder and have fiercely fought to maintain my mental wellness since that time. When we were blessed with 2 healthy children, lived in a lovely home built for us, and I so enjoyed my teaching career, why was I so suddenly, helplessly depressed? My usual demeanor has always been upbeat and enthusiastic. I could not understand this overwhelming weight that seemed to want to press me to the ground. When I checked myself into St. Mary's, I simply asked them to fix me because I was helplessly broken. So began my mental health journey that continues to this day. The stigma that is attached to mental health is real and dangerous. It is difficult to put into words how you are perceived by others once they know you have a mental health issue. Most folks are terrified and want to distance themselves because they feel so helpless. Most folks cannot help but see you as damaged and feel they must give you space to heal. Most folks don't understand that their need to create space only reinforces the I am worthless feeling that we feel as we try to understand what is going on in our brain. In order to restore brain health and balance, we need love and respect and support in addition to proper medical care. I stand here today because I am one of the fortunate people who was blessed to be surrounded by love, respect, support, excellent medical intervention, and my faith in God. All of these factors are the interwoven hands that hold me up as I search for my inner peace. All of these factors are the white dove of peace that hovers over me and reassures me that all will be well with my soul. My husband Jim had an abundance of common sense. He was so down to earth and laid back that he would have made Andy Griffith look stressed out. From the moment I met him, I was struck by his ability to see life as simply a journey to find the pieces of your life puzzle that make you happy, connect them, and enjoy the finished product to the fullest. Blessed with an infectious sense of humor, we were a good match. Little did I know that his ability to love unconditionally, his unwavering devotion, and his ability to fight to protect our life puzzle would be my salvation. And so it was that he said to me, as I battled with the idea of taking medication for the rest of my life because of my mental health ups and downs, if the doctor told you that you had diabetes and you had to take insulin for the rest of your life, would you do it? Common sense, but so poignant in the fact that he was diabetic and managed his own illness without fuss or fury. That was 40 years ago. There are countless stories along the way. Some I wish I couldn't remember, but unfortunately I am blessed or cursed with an excellent memory. Some in hindsight are hilarious. Like when I was a patient at Anaheim and a former student was there. When she saw me, she yelled, "Mrs. Barton, I didn't know you worked here." When I told her I was a patient, she proceeded to rant and rave in the most colorful language. And believe me, Helen was well known for that colorful language when she was a student at my school. That this was the most ridiculous thing she ever heard because I was the most sane person she ever knew. She then went on to tell this staff that she knew this was a loony bin because they couldn't even tell who the smart ones were. It was another former student that was in an administrative position that just a few days later secured my discharge after he and I had a lengthy chat. Who would have guessed that my former pupils would become my guardian angels? Because my career was so precious to me, I did have to fight constant discrimination from my principal, who was totally shaken by my diagnosis. I went from being his fair-haired favorite to someone he had to isolate and remove if possible. Probably the most hurtful direct pressure that was placed on me was when he asked my friend and colleague to spy on me and report to him if I was acting unusual. The fact that she agreed was devastating. When I learned of this, it made me realize how fortunate I was to have an entire community of parents, students, and staff standing behind me to be sure I was not removed from my classroom. The courage they showed was amazing to me, an amazing testament that when we stand together, we are stronger than our worst instincts. Some of these same dear friends, as well as many of you in this congregation, stood beside me as I spiraled off balance when a medication prescribed for me after I fractured my ankle was toxic to my mental health. My family surrounded me with loving support in every conceivable way. My dear friends who have supported me throughout my mental health quest never faltered. My psychiatrist of over 30 years became a care partner with my daughter. Watching her mother struggle so desperately to regain her balance was heartbreaking. She was reminded that over years past, it was her beloved dad that was always there to be the rock and caregiver, and she doubted her capabilities. Because of her devotion to her own family, they lifted me up, they cared for me, and I am able to thank God for all the blessings He has surrounded me with once again. This negative reaction to a medication was far more consequential than my fractured ankle. Go figure. Today is Pentecost Sunday. How does my life puzzle fit into this holy celebration? When I look at the beautiful decorations that Sue has placed on our altar, I focus on the meaning of Pentecost. It signifies the birth of the New Testament teachings of the Bible, the 50 days after Jesus' death on the cross and His resurrection, and His pledge to us that he will be with us always if we recognize our imperfections and follow him. It was the time when the Holy Spirit came to his disciples in the form of wind and fire, and they were filled with a desire to spread his word throughout the world. It was the birth of the church as we recognize it today. So I think my story, my life puzzle, fits perfectly into Pentecost Sunday. The wind and fire signify the presence of the Holy Spirit and the promise in Acts chapter 2, verse 4, that everyone who calls on the name of the Lord will be saved. I am able to share my very personal life story with you today because I believe every prayer raised is heard, that God does not care about your gender, status, or origin, but if you believe in the Trinity, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, your life will be filled with peace and happiness. Certainly, we all face trials and troubles in our lives, but I've experienced, and I believe you have experienced, the promise of Psalm 145, verse 14. The Lord upholds all those who fall and lifts up all who are bowed down. This allows us as Christians to use God's healing grace to grow and thrive in the face of challenges. It has been my pleasure to be with you today in this beautiful space. Springtime reminds me that God's Spirit is busy renewing the face of the earth as well as our own personal renewal. You are God's people, and he will grant you his peace, and he will be with you on this Pentecost Sunday and all of the days to come.